Ooh, I like the chicken and the steak drop. I like that. Oh, I didn't like that. So when you're at somebody else's wedding and you know your wedding's coming, what are you thinking about? Your wedding. And so Jesus in this moment turns to his mother and says, woman, my hour has not yet come. Almost standing there, referring and responding in a way that is like, you don't know what my wedding will cost me. And I have to do it as the Son of God. All right, let's go to the next slide. See, when you go to other people's weddings, you're usually thinking about your own. Let's keep reading. So then he says, woman, what does your concern have to do with me? My hour has not yet come. His mother said to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. It's like she didn't even hear what he said. Sounds like a mother. She says to the servants, whatever he says, do it. Here's what's so intriguing. Jesus was just a guest. He wasn't the master of ceremonies. He wasn't in charge. He was a respected rabbi with a bunch of disciples. And this mother, can you imagine the posture and the attitude of the servants? First of all, they need wine. There's a social embarrassment happening. And here's the kindness of God, is that what we think is small, God will go out of his way to fix. And they go, we have no wine. Mary goes, Jesus will fix it. Can I just encourage you that Jesus wants to fix lots of things in your life? Don't just save him the big stuff. Like he wants all of it. All of it. She says to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. A biblical pattern of miracles and walking in miracles is this. Whatever he says to you, do it. Do it. Don't procrastinate. Don't spiritually procrastinate and spiritualize your delay. I need to pray about it. I need a better witness in my spirit. I need to feel a peace. Can I be honest about feeling peace? I'm a third-generation Christian kid, so I have a little bit of liberty to talk to this stuff because I've heard rhetoric by people that procrastinate. They say, I'm going to pray about it. What they're really saying is I need to pray about it long enough to figure out how I'm going to do it without getting God involved. Because if I can just figure it out, I'll just do it. So I need to feel a peace. There are things God will ask you to do that you don't feel a peace about, but he does. That's why it says that he will give you a peace that surpasses your understanding. And why is the Holy Spirit called the Comforter if we never do anything that makes us feel uncomfortable? So if you want to walk in miracles and walk out with a testimony and walk out with a victory, get ready to feel a little bit uncomfortable because then the Holy Spirit comes and goes, I got you. If you're going to land on your feet, you got to leap first. So he says, whatever he says, do it. Here's an attitude check. Jesus is not a winemaker. He's a rabbi. It's not his forte as such. If anything, he was a carpenter. And Mary goes, whatever he says to you, do it. Now, in my opinion, if I was a servant, I'd be sitting there going, who is this lady? Who's this crazy lady telling us what to do and telling us to listen to her son? Is he a winemaker? No. Whatever he says to you, do it. When NASA launches a rocket ship, what happens is that, and I'm not a rocket scientist, you're very grateful that I'm not a rocket scientist. And what they do is if they want to launch a rocket to the moon, is if the moon is there, I would go, oh, the moon's there. I should launch the rocket that way. Most people would say that. But NASA knows that understanding the orbit, that in order for a rocket to get to the moon, if the moon's there, they launch the rocket that way. how many times have we thought the promises of God were there? How many times did we think our calling was there? How many times have we had prophetic words that we naturally filtered and defined and said, it's there, and this, God, this is the direction I'm going because you promised me this and I'm going that way. And Jesus is like, no, I'm launching you that way. And you go, but I don't want to be launched that way because it's all dark and I have no idea what that looks like. And it's like, no, you want wine, go get water. You want the moon, go that way. But the moon's not there. But what we realize is this, is God brings the moon to us. Because if he brings the moon to us, we receive it as our inheritance and not as an earned wage. But God, I have a word. And he goes, still go that way. I'm going to be in business, serving kids' church. I'm going to be prosperous in this area of my life. Give away things and be generous. And it's like a paradox. It's like Jesus would even say, lose your life and gain it. You know, the more generous you are, the more you'll have. That's the opposite. But it's because God brings the moon to us. Whatever he says to you, do it. I have a great friend who is a great faith. She's just amazing. She says to me, I live by the principle. And this is her life. You can carry it if you like. But she said to me just on the phone the other night, she said to me, and the conviction I hold in my life, like she had Brisbane's Lord Mayor on her board when she was running a not-for-profit. So she's used to doing faith leaps. She said this. She said, I've learned in my life that delayed obedience is disobedience. So whatever he says to you, do it. But the moon's there. He goes, I don't care. Go that way and I'll bring the moon to you. If that encourages you, you can say amen. Because especially if you're a young adult, you go, my life's planned that way. And he sends you on a missions trip. You know, but why? Because he's going to bring the moon to you. Let's go to the next slide. It says, now there were set there 6 water pots of stone, according to the manner of purification of Jews. Now, this is where it gets really important. So there's 6 water pots, big water pots, by the way, 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Do you know how much water that is? It's a lot of water. But the manner of purification for the Jews meant this, that before you went into a social setting or a sacred setting, there were these set water pots of stone filled with water, by the way, so that you could wash your hands and purify yourself before you went in. In essence, it's saying before I walk into a sacred space, I'm going to wash my own filth before I walk in. And so Jesus says, use that. But you're going to have to pour out the old water first. Because when miracles get unlocked, we have to pour out our own works first. We have to dispose of what we thought purified us in our own strength and our own efforts. And as it's being poured out, he says, and once you've emptied yourself, remember they were jars of clay and stone. In essence, they were like a picture of humanity. Because we're really fancy mud pies, if we're honest. That's why when Jesus spat in the dirt to heal the blind man, the rabbis would say this, that he was replaying Genesis when he spit in the dirt and he played with dirt in his hands. Because the water pots would signify a clay vessel. Saying, be emptied out of what you thought purified you. Made you holy, made you sacred, made you significant. And before it transforms the wedding, let's pour it out. Let's get rid of the old so we can make room for the new, which is an inheritance of the miraculous. Because I don't want to relive 2007 miracles in 2025. In 2015, I stood on this platform and had young people all through here, and some of you guys remember it, and we saw miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And you know why? Because there was an environment where young people came hungry with no preconceived ideas of what miracles should look like. They came in hungry like kids going, I want something supernatural to invade my life. And that's what the posture, no matter how old you are, no matter how old we get, I want to be able to be so hungry that miracles are just normal. And like a child, I come to the Father going, what are you going to do today? I want a miracle today. Blow my mind today. But I have to empty myself of what I thought purified me and let him fill it up. So he says to the servants, go and fill the water pots up. If we go to the next slide. They were pretty heavy. They didn't have a hose around the back. Like, let's go, let's just go to the tap. They had to take it to a well. This exercise would have cost about 2 to 3 hours, at least. The fact that they had multiple servants and they had to take these or carry these and get it out of a well. So when Jesus says to the disciples, if you get a child a cup of, notice what he says, a cup of cold water in my name, you will by no means lose your reward. You know why? Because they live in the Middle East and it's hot. And to have cold water, it means you already sorted it out for yourself. It means you went out of your way to ensure you got cold water for it and made it cold. So for you to give to the next generation, it's something you thought you were going to save for yourself. But if you give it to the next generation, Jesus is like, you by no means will lose your reward. That's why we should have a long waiting list of people wanting to serve in kids' church. I'm just being honest. Because that's that cup of water. It's like I create, like you couldn't just get cold water. You had to plan for cold water. Same thing here. Jesus like, go get water, fill them up. But there's water in it. Yeah, but it's filthy because people wash their hands and they're trying to purify themselves. So he goes, go and fill these up. And so they had to 2 to 3 hours. Can you imagine the grumbling of a group of servants that went, we don't even know who this crazy lady is and who's this rabbi telling us we need wine and they're telling us to get water. Moon, there. We need wine, get water. In our callings and in our lives, when what we're called to do to transform our city, there will be things that look so obvious and God's not in them. He says, go and do the mundane. Go and get something very normal and I'll do something supernatural with it. Because if you think of the fermenting, the fermenting of that water to wine, he like sped up months of something to shift the substance. If he can do a suddenly, which he did in the book of Acts, if he can do a suddenly with the mundane, I would rather go get water knowing he can do a suddenly than try to figure out how to make wine by myself. Because Pastor Clark told me this. He taught me this. He said, the enemy will promise you wine but give you water. But God always says, go get water, but I'll give you wine. Because glory to glory, precept upon precept, line upon line. Let's go to the next slide. So draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. So they go fill these water pots and there's a bunch of servants. Now, the bunch of servants is most likely you had to go in at least pairs because it was heavy. So you're in pairs, you filled it up with water, and you've grumbled that you wanted wine and this guy's told you to get water. We want the outcome. We don't always like the process. We want a miracle to look the way we thought it should come. Like the guy that was blind and just needed Jesus to touch his eyes. Yet he puts he hocks a loogie in the dirt. I'm sure the blind guy went, isn't there another way? We believe God for miracles, absolutely. How he gives them to you is not up to our comfort zone. So here's the water, the servants are the grumbling, and I can just imagine, because we're so human, it's like they're walking with each other going, what does this guy think he is? We have to go get water, empty this out. These are heavy, man. 2-3 hours and we've been doing this mess to fix an embarrassing story of a young couple's wedding? Like, I am sure for any man in here that if you were given any responsibility for your wedding, I am sure for this young groom, having enough wine was his responsibility because they ran out of it. Because usually it's, well, for me, it was my wife and my mother-in-law that did most of the planning. They said, can you just turn up and have a couple of responsibilities? For the record, I did forget most of them. So there's this young couple, and most likely it was totally the husband's fault. Why don't we have wine? I just forgot to order as much as I thought we needed. So here we have servants with water on their shoulders. Now it says this, that fill them up to the brim. Right? It says fill them up to the brim. Why would Jesus say fill it up to the brim? Because when he fills you, he doesn't do it in half measure. When you've emptied yourself out of works and trying to sanctify and purify yourself, that there's no half in God. You know, a form of being unholy is being mediocre. Because we think it's about acts and being pure. Actually, holy means set apart. Daniel was 10 times better than his peers. When we go to work, if we're mediocre, that's a form of unholiness. All right, and so here's Jesus telling them, fill it up to the brim. Have you ever tried to walk with a cup of water filled to the brim without it spilling? That's why I don't wear white on planes when I travel, because I usually order a coffee and it's filled to the brim. I have lived experience and trauma. Because when it's filled to the brim, it means it's going to spill over. And there comes a moment in your life where the grace of God is so good, the miracles will overflow. They'll be filled to the brim that they start splashing on you. Now, did Jesus touch the jars? No. Did Jesus touch the water? No. The miracle was unlocked because servants were willing to do what he said. That sounded ridiculous. So here they are with water pots filled to the brim, grumbling, walking, letting it splash. But there comes a moment where that water splashing and the annoyance of it, suddenly they went, what is this? And it happened on their shoulders. What ridiculous miracles should you expect to happen on your shoulders? And notice they couldn't do it alone. Miracles happen in community. That's why we serve with one another. We serve on teams. We serve the community. We do Heaven's Kitchen because we're a team. And isn't it better to have a miracle done together than try to get miracles on your own? Because when we're obedient together, miracles just happen. And so here we have this group of servants, and water started splashing on them, and then it became wine. All because of obedience. Simple obedience. And then it says, let's go back. When the master of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew. I love this. The end result was a miracle and they didn't understand it. But the servants did. When we go to our marketplace calling, our industry calling, and you walk into rooms and you bring miraculous power, they go, where did this come from? How did you do that? How did you get that idea? How did you think about that? And I live in it because I serve the church every week, but I have a commercial and corporate calling and I get to do lots of fun things out in the marketplace. From sports people to defense force, I do all of that stuff. And you know what I've learned? Is that you can be a supernatural secret agent. That if I'm willing to deal with water, it becomes wine. And if I go out there, like most of us do, I expect the recipient of the people in the room to realize that I bring miracles everywhere I go. And so I go out there and they taste this wine from heaven in meetings and documentation and keynote speeches and everything else. They go, where did that come from? But the servants knew. The servants knew. And that is my charge to you today. When you go out there, and you transform your city and you meet with people and you've been obedient to what God asked you to do with water, He'll change it to wine, and they won't even know what to do with the miracle that's sitting in front of them. But you know, because you wanted the moon, but God brought the moon to you. If I could have the musicians up, please. Oh, wow, you guys were prophetic. Like, you were obedient. Let's go to the next slide. You have kept the good wine until now. I just want to say this to us as a family, is God exists outside of time. Some of us in this room, and I just want to declare this over some people, you think that your best days had already happened. Can I declare it over you now? That God's still got the best wine for you. If you're just willing to be faithful with the water. And if you got 2 feet and a heartbeat, God's got something for you. He saved the good wine because He wants you to live a miraculous life right up until your last breath before you step into the eternal miracle. So can I encourage you today? Your story's not over. Your miracle stories aren't over. Your miracles didn't stop 5 years ago. Your miracles didn't stop 10 years ago. Miracles aren't ad hoc. They are consistent if we become aware of them with every breath that we take. And so here's the group of people I'd love to pray for. Why don't we stand up to our feet? Here's the group of people I feel compelled to pray for. As we walk into our above and beyond declaration, because that's what He gave them, an above and beyond miracle. They didn't expect it, but they got it. Is that as we step into it, as you step into a new wineskin, because there's new wine of the miraculous every day. Here's my question. If you feel like you've got some clay pots living at your house, filled with the cleanliness of your own works, and the ideas that you can live in the natural and just wash your own hands, and you're ready to go, you know what, God? I don't want to put up with my own limitations. I'm over limiting myself to what I put in these pots. But God, if you would come into my house, into my life, and allow me to pour out my own self-effort. But today, here at Devonport, on the 6th of April, would you come to this altar, empty me out, but fill me with the miraculous. Fill me with an overflow up to the brim kind of life, where everywhere I go, it may look mundane, but I'm walking in my miracle. I'm walking in my miracle. So we're going to sing, and we're going to sing that miracle song about walking out with a testimony, walking out with victory, walking out with authority. And as they play that, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. And I've got the prayer team and myself. We're all going to jump down there and pray for you, because don't let today be a day where you walk out and you still have old clay pots living at home with you. Today's a day where you say, no more. I want a life filled with miracles, because I'm willing to pour it out so He can fill me up, because He's going to bring the moon to you and change your water to wine. Come on, let's sing together. If that's you, come on, I want to pray for you. If you're ready for a miraculous life, come on to the front. Come on to the